Below is an original, victim-first YouTube script on the disappearance of Suzy Lamplugh, written in a calm, investigative style, inspired by the pacing and structure of long-form true crime storytelling, without copying any specific creator's wording or voice. In 1986, Suzy Lamplugh was 25 years old, and by everything people around her knew, she was a hard-working, capable young woman with her life moving forward. She was a lettings negotiator in London, which meant her job required meeting strangers, showing properties, and handling the kind of appointments that depended on trust. That detail matters because Suzy was doing ordinary work on an ordinary day when her life suddenly became one of Britain's most haunting, unsolved cases. Suzy was not famous. She was not looking for attention. She was simply living the life of a young professional in London, building a future in a city that, like any other, should have been predictable in the most basic ways.
Instead, her disappearance would become a national story, then an international one. And decades later, it would still be drawing investigators back to the same unanswered question. What happened to Suzy Lamplugh? On 1st July 1986, Suzy left her office in Fulham for a scheduled appointment to show a property in Shorolds Road, Fulham. She was seen heading out to meet a client named Mr Kipper, a name that would later become central to the case. That meeting was the last confirmed time she was seen alive. What happened next is the point where the record goes thin and the uncertainty begins. Suzy never returned from the appointment. Her white Austin Metro was found the next day, abandoned in Stevenage Road, not far from where she had been working. That discovery immediately raised alarms, because it suggested she had not simply missed a train or gone somewhere voluntarily. Her car had been left behind, and Suzy herself had vanished. At the time, police treated her disappearance as a possible abduction. The public response was intense, and very quickly the case took on a life of its own because it touched something deeply unsettling. A young woman had disappeared while doing her job, in broad daylight, in a city full of people. Suzy was later legally declared dead in 1993, and the case was treated as a presumed abduction and murder. Even with that legal finding, the central facts never solidified into a courtroom case that could hold. The body was never found, and without it, one of the most painful gaps in the investigation remained open. Over the years, detectives focused on John Cannon as the prime suspect. He was arrested in 2000, but police did not gather enough evidence to charge him in relation to Suzy's disappearance. That is one of the most important and frustrating aspects of this case. Suspicion is not the same as proof, and suspicion alone was not enough to move the case from likely truth into legal certainty. The investigation also became shaped by time itself. Witness memories fade. Physical evidence degrades. People who may once have talked decide not to later. And in a case like this, where the body was never recovered, every missing piece mattered even more than usual. According to the Metropolitan Police, a forensic review of all significant material was completed in 2024, but it did not uncover any DNA or fingerprints that could help resolve who killed Suzy. That is a sobering result, especially in a case this old, because modern forensics often brings hope to families who have waited decades. In Suzy's case, it did not produce the breakthrough investigators wanted. The detective leading the current review, DCI Jamie Foster, has said the team remains committed to finding out what happened,
and, just as importantly, to finding Suzy's body so her family can have closure. He described the case as one that still haunts the officers working on it, in part because the Putney station where they are based is so close to the places where Suzy lived and worked. That proximity gives the case a strange kind of persistence. It is not just a file in a cabinet. It is still tied to streets, buildings, and routines that existed when Suzy was alive. The reason this case went cold is not mysterious in the abstract, even if the specifics remain unresolved. The police were left without enough evidence to charge their suspect, and the passage of time only made that harder. The case is now one of the Met's oldest open murder investigations. A major review in 2024 still did not produce the forensic answers investigators hoped for, which shows how difficult it can be to revive a case after 4 decades.
There is also the human obstacle that many cold cases face: silence. Foster has said the team still hopes that someone who once knew Canaan, or knew something relevant to the case, may finally come forward. He also noted that they would protect any new informant as best they can. That language matters because it suggests investigators understand what often keeps old cases frozen: loyalty, fear, guilt, or simply the hope that staying quiet will make a painful thing disappear. And yet, the case has not been fully put aside. As of now, police are planning to follow up around 30 potential witness leads over the next year. If those leads do not produce anything useful, the case may eventually be classified as inactive. That would not mean forgotten. It would mean officers would still respond if new information came in, but they would no longer be regularly working the file. That is where this case stands today. Not solved, not closed, but running out of active movement after 40 years. Suzy Lamplugh was legally declared dead long ago, but the truth of what happened to her has still not been established in a way that brings peace to the people who loved her. What remains unknown is the most basic thing of all: where Suzy went after that appointment, what happened between her leaving for work and her car being found, and whether there is still someone alive who knows the answer but has never spoken it out loud. For her family, 4 decades is a very long time to wait for certainty. For investigators, it is a reminder that some cases never stop asking the same question. And maybe that is the question that still matters most here. What do you think keeps a case like Suzy Lamplugh's alive in the public memory for so long? Fear? Hope? Or the fact that some answers still feel just out of reach?